if you don't have anything firm like a yoga blanket. And if you've got yoga blocks, great, we'll use them. If not, you can use your firm blanket and some other stuff and a chair. Okay, so we're going to start with using this blanket. And so I'm showing it with a yoga blanket, and this is a really thick one. I've opened it up so that it's long. It's still folded, right? But it's long. And then I'm going to roll it into a tight taquito. Okay, so I'm rolling it from the long side so that it is not too thick, but still thick enough, okay? And you'll decide what that means for your own body. Because what we're going to try to do is we're going to place this behind our low back curve. So our lumbar curve down here, right? And lie down. And we don't want it to feel uncomfortable. We want it to feel comfortable. Okay, but it still will feel, you'll notice it's there. Okay, so I'm going to come down. If you need a second pillow below your head or anything, you can do that. And so when you've got this there, what's happening is it's accentuating that low back curve. And so when you come onto it, if it feels like too much, then come out, unroll your blanket a little bit so that it's not as thick. Okay, and if you can barely feel it, you might add a second blanket to it. And just to start, I'm going to see if I can relax my tail toward the floor. And breathe. Following your breath in and out, just kind of feeling where it is. You don't have to breathe in any particular way. I'm going right into a yoga style breath, but you can get there whenever you're ready or if you're ready. Okay, and then very slowly what I'm going to try to do is tuck my tail. So I'm actually lifting my tail just a little bit off the floor so that my low back kind of presses into the blanket roll, and then I'm untucking it and repeating. Okay. And you can inhale or exhale whenever, no set time to breathe. And you might feel yourself really ground down through your feet as you do this. Notice if a big movement or a small movement feels best to you. Good. And now what I'm going to do is tuck the tail, and then I'm going to scoot my hips to the right a little bit. So I didn't move anything. I just kind of tilted to the right, and then I'm going to place my hips down on the floor, more on this right side, and then I'm going to tuck my tail lifting up, come back through the center and over more down to the left. So I'm just going to angling is all I'm doing when I come down and angling on the way up. Just so I get into some of the muscles on the sides of my low back. Right? So on either side of my spine, they are pressing, getting a little more massage in those two areas. Of course, if it doesn't feel good to you to do that, you can stick with what you're doing. Okay, now I'm going to lift my tail up and I'm going to rock my low back side to side. My knees are rocking too. My feet are rocking, but I'm keeping my tail off the floor. I'm just going to loosen up in this area. Keep breathing. Good. Okay. Now you can roll to your side. If that feels okay, press up and just slide this blanket roll out of the way. If you wanted to use it below your head, you could. Or unfold it. And then let's come back down onto your back just so you can kind of feel what it's like to be in constructive rest pose now without that blanket roll there. And you can do any kind of movement you want. You might roll like you're doing a pelvic clock around, or you might tuck and untuck. And just notice how it feels in that lumbar or low back area. Follow the breath in and out. Now let's inhale to spread the arms out and widen the feet to set up for windshield wipers. And exhale as you begin to let the knees go to one side and then the other. You can feel free to linger on one side or the other. Good, and then let's come back to the center. I'm going to straighten out the legs. Your arms can be wherever, okay? I'm going to inhale, and I'm just really reaching through my toes. I'm actually reaching through, let me see if I can move these blocks. I'm reaching through the balls of my feet, and I'm spreading my toes, actually. But I've got plantar flexion is what that's called. Good, I'm breathing, keep breathing. You don't have to hold the breath. And then let's exhale and bring the right knee in and just let the ankle relax. Good. I'm gonna let go with my hands, only if that feels okay to you, okay? And you really make that left leg strong, the one that's on the floor. Inhale and exhale. Let's take that right knee out to the right without falling over. So just as far as you feel like you have control. Good, inhale there. And then exhale, can you start to circle the right knee forward as though you were gonna put the foot on the floor, but you don't. Good, and then take the knee over to the left. And I'm letting my right hip come off the floor as I do that. It might not though, that's okay too. And then I'm bringing it back in the center toward my belly or my ribs. And I'm just gonna do that again. So I'm basically making a big circle with my right hip and knee, and I'm trying to do it without my hands if that feels okay on the back or the hip. And then circle in the opposite way. Good. Now let's come back to the center, and you can use your left hand on your right knee and bring that knee across your body so you're in a knee down twist. Any amount, okay? Any amount that feels good. Head can look any direction. Inhale. As you inhale, can you try to fill up both sides of your rib cage or expand both sides? And then you can blow out through pursed lips or out through your nose. Okay, now we are going to keep rolling to the left until we come onto our bellies, if that feels okay to you. So I'm going to roll over to the left side, bringing my right arm around, and I'm going to keep my right knee out to the side. So it's like a half frog pose on the floor. And I'm propped up on my forearms. You don't have to do that, but I am. Okay, and I'm just noticing how this feels. Right? So now I've got external rotation on that hip, but with a different orientation, right? I've got the floor below me. Good. You can even try to push your right knee down into the floor a little bit. Put a little pressure there. You could also be down with your head down. Okay, now we'll come down to head down and slide the right leg next to the left so both legs are straight. And now let's inhale, bend the right knee. Good. And now we're going to lift the right knee off the floor, possibly, but without lifting the right hip off the floor. So to keep yourself in check, you can press your pubic bone down and just see, could you lift the right knee off the floor at all? And you might really feel your hamstring might cramp up on you or just feel tight, or your butt muscles, your glutes. You can go up and down a couple of times. Good. And then straightening out that leg on the floor again and just kind of wiggle, waggle the legs. And then let's pause here, breathing in Then breathing out, noticing how the two legs and hips feel. Good. Bringing the right leg back into that half frog and maybe up onto the forearms. Okay. Now we're going to come back onto our backs. And to get there, it might feel a little tricky. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to lift my right arm and I start to look to the right. And I'm going to slide my left shoulder and arm underneath. And then I'm going to come back into my twist, bringing my right arm out to the right. And I'm in my knee down twist again. Breathing in and out. And rolling onto your back. You can draw that right knee in. You might need to scoot back onto your mat if you want to. And just draw it in close. Good. Now, you might need to bend the left knee to do this next part. I'm going to let go with my hands and see if I can straighten the leg up toward the ceiling or get it partly straight and then bend it. And I'm just going to do this a couple of times, bending and straightening. If it feels better, you could have your left knee bent. That will offer just a little more support, especially if you've got really tight legs or your low back feels like it needs an extra support. Okay, 1 or 2 more times. Good, all right, now let's bend the knee, foot to the floor, straighten out the leg, and just noticing the two legs again. How do they feel different from one another, if they do? Let's take a big wide inhale and blow out through the mouth slowly. Good, and then inhale again. Exhale, left knee comes in and you can give it a squeeze. If it feels all right to let go, letting go. And slowly take that left knee out to the left. See if you can stabilize. And then bringing that left knee forward, making a circle. If you can, keep the foot off the floor. And then bringing that knee over to the right. If you want to, the left hip can come off the floor. And we're trying to do this with no hands, possibly. And making another circle in that direction. Just going slowly so you can notice, what your range is like in each of these positions. And then reverse directions. And what I'm feeling is my abdominal muscles working to stabilize me here. You may or may not feel that. Good. And then next time you come to the center, let's bring the knee across your body to the right. You can use your right hand on the knee and just take a couple of breaths there. Good, and now let's continue to roll to the right. Bring your left arm across, and we'll come into that half frog position on the belly, either on your forearms or down with your belly on the floor or your head on the floor. Good. I'm going to stay here for a moment, noticing how this feels. Breathing in and breathing out. You might press that left knee firmly into the floor. And then slowly releasing down. You can straighten the left leg next to the right and just pause. Feel your breath against the floor. Now let's press the pubic bone down and bend the left knee. And we'll just do these little lifts if you can. Little lift of the left knee off the floor without taking the whole hip off the floor. Good. And then letting that go, just kind of waggle the hips and the legs a little bit. And then we'll come back to half frog with that left knee.
Rise back up onto forearms if you can. A little lift to the left elbow as you thread the right arm and shoulder under. We're coming back into our twist and pausing, stretching the left arm out to the left if you can. Might need to rearrange. Good, and now let's come on to your back with your left knee, and you might need to rearrange on the floor. Good. And if it feels okay, letting go with the arms. Remember, your right leg could bend. I'm going to try to straighten my left leg up toward the ceiling a little or a lot, and then bend it again. Just repeat a couple of times. Good, and now let's foot down, straighten legs, notice. Inhaling wide through the nose, and then exhale out your mouth. And now inhaling, you could stretch arms overhead if you want. Reach through the legs, and then exhale, bringing your knees in toward your belly and holding them above or below the knees. And your choice, you could rock side to side, or you can make circles on the low back. And then go the opposite direction. Good. All right, now you could roll to your side and come up, or you could rock yourself up. I'm going to sit for a moment. And let's sit with your right leg forward and your left leg back if you can. So you're in a side seat or maybe even a 90-90 seat. So you've got one leg turned out, one leg turned in. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rock a bit. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my weight toward my front hip and then toward the back hip. And your knees might need to come up. Some people might need to do more of a windshield wiper supported, okay? Just gonna make sure it feels okay in your knees and your hips. And I'm rocking forward. And sometimes I like to do this with the back hand on the hip. And I can feel the hip come in and go back. Come in and go back. Yeah. All right. Now, if you were to just take your hands around to frame the front leg, would you be able to lift the back foot off the floor? You might not be able to, and you might, okay? So I'm internally rotating. So now, the more I lean this way, the more I can get it up there, right? Can you move it at all with barely leaning forward? You know, does it move at all? May or it may not, right? That's internal rotation of this back hip, and it might be limited, right? So just noticing it. And then you can go back to rocking again. And you see when you rock, I'm letting some of my torso move too. I'm not trying to isolate anything here. I'm not playing around and loosening stuff up. You might even start to twist a little bit. So you might reach that back arm, that left arm around, high, low, doesn't matter, and come back, kind of just noticing what feels tight, what doesn't. Good. All right. Now, we're going to stay in this position for a moment. And you might want to tuck your foot in more and you might not. You can decide. I'm going to turn so my chest or sternum faces my front knee. Okay? And I'm actually going to grab a little block, but you could use a pillow or your hands too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to fold over so my chest, my sternum is facing my front knee. Now you might need to tuck your foot in all the way. That might feel better to you. Some people might also prefer to move the back knee back and straighten it out a little bit. So it's more of a pigeon pose, which you might be familiar with. But you can keep it bent or straight, doesn't matter, okay? You might not be able to go that far down. You might want to stay upright. Okay. As you're here, notice if you're starting to space out. And can you pay attention to your breath? If this doesn't work for your body at all, you could be on your back in a figure four stretch. So the right ankle could be crossed over the left thigh like this, and you could press that right knee out to the side, or you could thread the needle, okay, like this, or put your foot on something. Those are options too if it doesn't feel right in your joints to do this. Okay. Let's do 2 more breaths. And then slowly, if you're folded, coming up. And you can lean yourself back a little or a lot to bring the knees up. If you're on your back stretching, you can join us. Let's just straighten out the legs for a moment and roll the ankles around. Good. And then roll them in the opposite direction. All right. Now, I'm going to bring the other leg in front. So your left knee in front, right knee back, or whichever side you haven't done. Feet can always be tucked in, okay? And I'm just going to start with this little bit of hip mobilization. I'm just rocking here. And this works all around the pelvis, the sacrum. You've got to pay attention to how your knees are feeling. You could always be on your back, windshield wipering, or seated windshield wipers. Couple more. Okay, and now let's frame the front leg a little bit, and we'll see, could you lift the back foot off the floor, this internal rotation. Now I am leaning a bit to my left to make that happen, but I'm trying to minimize it, right? So I'm not going way over, but you might test that. You might go way over and see, what you get, and then see, can you move it all upright? Okay, and now you can just start to twist around, come in and out. So I'm drawing my right arm around. You can be on your left hand or forearm. You can go high, you can go low. And I try to find the places that you feel like want to mobilize. Good. And then either coming onto your back for a figure four stretch, or can face your front knee. You might want to tuck feet in or move the knee further back in the back and lengthen forward. So lengthen away, belly button away from thigh, and then you can fold forward if you'd like. You might prop your head on something. And just as a reminder, the on your back figure four looks like this. Or this. Trying to stay present if you can, noticing when you space out. You might even be moving into more of a pigeon pose, straightening the back leg. Two more breaths. Good. And then slowly meeting in a long seat or a staff pose, Dandasana in Sanskrit, and rolling the ankles around. Good. All right. Now let's bend the knees and seated. And you can place your hands behind your back or your fists. You could also, if you know you can't bear weight on your wrists or your arms or shoulders, you could sit in a chair and do the same thing. Okay, so what I'm going to try to do is a little more hip extension. Okay, so I'm going to try to lift my hips off the floor, any amount, and then bring them back down. Okay, so I'm just going to do this a couple times. If right away you're like, nope, my wrist can't do it, go to your chair and just do the same thing, and I'll show it in the chair. So you can come up and down and notice maybe you could squeeze your glutes, meaning tighten them as you do it, just to feel them working, just to like, they're going to be working to do this, so just noticing it. Here's a version in the chair. Just a little more, less weight on the hands in the chair. Okay, so do a couple more if you can, noticing how that's feeling. And this is reverse table pose or Purvottanasana variation. And then let's come down to a seat. If you're on your chair, just stay there. If you're on the floor, take any leg position, okay? And we're gonna bring the hands together, palms touching, interlacing fingers, and try to keep the elbows in if you can. We're gonna make a figure 8 on its side or an infinity sign with your wrists. And you can do any other movements, you know, if you want the shoulders to loosen up or you need to move your neck around, go for it. Okay. Good. And now let's take the arms out to the sides, wrists lower than shoulders. Okay, we're going to inhale and make stop signs. Okay, palms facing out, and then exhale. We'll fold the thumbs into a fist and then see if you can turn the knuckles down. I'm just going to repeat this a couple of times. So if your shoulders feel tight, like you're holding up here, just bring your arms lower, okay? So we're going through wrist extension and finger extension into flexion. And you might feel this as a bit of a nerve glide, so you might feel this in other areas through the arms, forearms, shoulders, neck. Good, now let's let the arms rest a moment, just kind of shake them out. And let's work with the head, okay? So just gonna turn the head left, and then turn it right. And repeat. Noticing how that's doing. Now coming to the center. Now we're going to let the head lean down one side and back up. And down the other side. And back up. Again. Kind of soften through your jaw. Good. And then how about look up? And look down. And repeat. Go slowly. Just notice what your neck wants to do, how much movement feels okay. And then back to center. Now could you draw the chin forward and back? So it's like a forward head and then a double chin. You might even be able to go side to side. That one's so hard for me. Good. And now how about just big circles or small circles if those feel better. Soften that jaw and then let's go the opposite direction. Good. All right. And just shake things out a little bit and let's come onto our feet. If you're in your chair, you can just stand up. If you're on the floor, you could walk your hands back, rolling up or rising up. And once you get there, just feeling your feet grounded, let's inhale to reach up. You can even look up if you want. And exhale, let's bring the palms down through the center like you're just drawing a straight line down in the middle. And let's do that again. Inhale, reaching up. And exhale. Good. Now let's pause here. And you can have your palms touching or your arms down at your sides. I'm feeling all 10 of your toes on the floor. Good. And then standing tall from this position. So this is Tadasana pose or mountain pose. In fact, let's drop the arms now. And letting your eyes find something to look at. Softening your eyes. Good, and now let's step the feet a little wider and lean to one side and then lean to the other side. And I'm just letting my breath flow. We haven't focused on any particular type of pranayama or breath work today, but trying to notice when you're holding your breath. And now next time you come up to the center, let's hula hoop the hips. And then go the other way. All right. We're going to get our chairs and bring them to the front of the mat with the seat facing you. Of course, you don't have to use a chair if you don't want to, but I'm going to be showing this with a chair. Okay. I'm going to do a few variations on sun salutations. Okay. With our hips in mind and our pelvis in mind. All right. I'm going to stand in front of the chair. And as you're ready, you can inhale and reach those arms up. And exhale, let's hinge at the hips, taking hands to chair. Inhale, let's reach the spine forward. And as you exhale, step your right foot underneath the seat and then take the left leg back to a high lunge. So I've got my hands on the chair. Good. Inhaling here, shoulders away from your ears. And exhaling. Good, so I've got very little weight on the hands, right? I could hold myself up with my legs if I needed to. You might not be able to fully take your hands away, but just with that in mind, okay? Inhale again, and exhale. Good, now very slowly, I'm going to keep my right hand down, and I'm gonna start to turn my chest to the left, and my left heel is coming to the floor. So I just turned this hip to the side. See if that feels okay. You might need to put your hand on your thigh, right, instead of the chair. Okay, you could see what you like better. You might also like to have your forearm on the thigh, right? So it could be here, here, or here. Okay, see what you like. Now, if you're really close with your back foot, see how I'm kind of getting into my low back here? Or you might not notice, but I can feel it in my low back. I'm kind of tipped. So notice that I've taken my leg, it's pretty far back here. But say you can't take your leg far back, then I would recommend being here. Okay, a little higher up. All right. If you want to, you can stretch this left arm along your ear And I'm in a pose called Parsvottanasana, or we often say side angle pose. Okay. And so you see how I'm stretching my fingers in the opposite direction of my back heel. So yeah, that's it. I'm reaching out of that bottom shoulder if you're over like this. Good, one more breath, or it might be here too. Okay. Now, very slowly, I'm gonna exhale and start to turn so I look back at my chair. And I bring my right hand back and then my left hand back down. And I'm gonna lift my left heel back up so I face the front. Okay. Just step that back foot in a little bit. And now as you take an exhale, so wait for your breath, I'm gonna step back into downward facing dog, stretching it back. Breathing in and out, in and out. All right, let's bend the knees and look towards your chair. And then step the left foot underneath the chair. And I've got my knee pretty close. Good. I'm in a lunge, so I'm going to back up my back leg. So it's pretty far back there. My back heel is lifted. I'm going to bring my shoulder blades down my back and really try to strengthen up my legs, and so that I don't even have to touch the chair maybe. Okay, breathing here. Okay, now from here, I'm going to start to turn my chest to the right. My left hand can be on the chair or my leg. Okay, I'm putting that back heel down on the floor. So I could be hand to chair, hand to leg, or forearm to leg. I'm going to stay lifted out of that bottom shoulder, and then if it feels okay, you can reach your right arm along your ear, getting really long. The key here is that you want to feel expansive and stable so that you're not getting tight in your neck or shoulders or your low back. You're opening and stretching in opposite directions. Let's take another breath. And then slowly begin to face your chair again, bringing both hands down to it, lifting back heel. And this time I'm going to step my foot out from under the chair. So I just kind of scoot it back because I'm going to step that back leg forward. So I'm going to inhale here and exhale to step that back leg forward. You might even lift it up on the way if you want to, and then step it in. And inhale, reach your chest forward. And exhale, let's bend the knees like you're seated in a chair behind you. And then inhale, we're gonna stand up, pressing down through the feet, reaching up. And exhale, bringing the arms down. Good. All right, let's do something similar. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold toward the chair. You can bend your knees any amount. Inhale, extending your spine forward. And exhale, let's take the left foot under the chair. But this time the right leg's gonna go back, not as far, so the heel is down, okay? Now I'm gonna put a little bend in my front knee, or a big bend. And I'm just going to start to take my weight forward and back. And I think we did this a couple weeks ago. So I'm shifting my weight to my back foot, and then my front foot. And I've almost straightened my front leg completely, but you don't have to, it can be bent. Okay, now what position feels better in your body? Does the center between the two feel really good right now? Or going more toward the back or more toward the front? Are you putting a lot of weight on your hands? Do you need to stand up even? Right? So you could even be here. If this is bothering your back, you could be up. If it's not bothering your back, you can stay down or even fold. Lots of options, okay? Lots of options. One more breath. And then slowly, if you're folded forward, be sure to bend the knee. And then inhale, reach your chest forward. And exhale, we're gonna go back to our downward facing dog. You can wiggle the hips a little or a lot. and then let's bend the knees and step the right foot under the chair. You might need to bring the back foot in. Now, if you know this is bothering your back to lean over, that you can bend the knee and stand up, right? You don't have to be leaning over or hinged over. Front knee can be bent a little or a lot or not at all. And I'm just doing that little hip shift, taking my weight to the back foot and then the front foot. And noticing, where does it feel best? Does the middle feel okay? Or do I need more weight on one side or the other? Okay, now folding or staying straight or standing up, whichever you like better. Good, and then when you're ready, you can bend that front knee more if you're folded forward. You can step that back leg up. Inhale to reach your chest forward, and exhale, bend the knees. Inhale, stand, reaching arms up. Exhale, arms out to the sides and down. Then let's just step and swing and twist. Good, coming back to the center. We're gonna stand with the seat of your chair on one side of your body, okay? And we're gonna inhale, stand tall. Exhale, relax your shoulders. Tadasana, mountain pose. Inhale. And as you exhale, can you bring your leg that's closest to your chair up? Now, if your balance is not gonna work for that, you can get yourself close to another piece of furniture or a wall on the opposite side, right? Okay, now if you're still holding it, nice job, okay, you can come back down, okay? I'm gonna wiggle around. Now you know what you're gonna be doing, so getting close to something if necessary, getting yourself a focal point. Your eyes can soften and gaze at one point, okay? And then inhale tall and exhale, knee up again. Good, inhale. Now exhale, could you take the knee out to the side with your foot above your chair seat? Maybe, maybe not, right? You might have to put it right down on that chair, and that's fine if you do, okay? If you're hovering still, let's put the foot on the chair, okay? And so right away, you might find that you've done this, where you kind of, boom, sunk the hip out to the opposite side. Could you lift up through your center? Get really strong through that standing leg. If this feels too high for you, feel free to use some other object, a stool, anything lower than the seat of a chair. If you have pain in the hip when you do this, stick with bringing it forward. You could even face the chair, right? Good. Inhaling here, exhaling. Now, what would it feel like to move that outer leg a little away? Okay, and now I'm just kind of leaning onto my thigh with my arm. See if that feels okay. So I'm getting a little bit or a big stretch in here. Breathing. Another option would be to come inside. Now, my back is going to round when I do this. You have to make sure that feels okay on your back. I'm just folding down inside the leg, letting your neck, just one neck, letting your neck release or soften if you can. You might find you have to bend the standing leg too. That's okay. Good. And then if you're folded down like me here, Just slowly using one hand or elbow to knee, rising back up. Now what I'm going to try to do is turn to face the chair. Okay, so I'm just, boom. Okay. Inhale, stand tall. Exhale, could you lift the foot off the chair? Maybe, maybe not. It might just be like an inch and right back down, okay? And then place the foot next to the other foot. Now step side to side, and now you can turn yourself around or bring your chair to the other side, keeping in mind if you need any balance support. Okay, so we're going to do it the same way we did on the other side. Tadasana pose. Eyes calm, focused. Inhale, stand tall. Exhale, first we're just going to try to lift that leg that's closest to the chair and pause for a breath or two. It might have to be really low. It might even have to have toes down, okay? And then come down. Good. Let's try it again. Inhale, stand tall. Exhale, same knee lifts. Good. Inhale. Now, see if you can take that knee out to the side and the foot, hovering it above the chair, or you might need to place it right down. Keep breathing. And then do put it down. Okay? Now, if this gives you pain in your hip, you feel free to face the chair with your body like this. Okay? Otherwise, I'm going to stay open. Now you can feel for walking your outer leg away from the inner leg. And you might even lean down toward the thigh. It's similar to Parsvakonasana or side angle pose. Okay. You could also choose to start to come down toward the chair seat on the inside of the leg, rounding the back, or even hanging there if that feels good to you. Letting your neck go. Again, we're not trying to push ourselves too far. We're just going far enough so that we feel some interesting information, right? It might be a stretch, it might be a strengthen, it might feel resistance, right? Listening to your body always. And now to come up, if you're all the way down there, you can use your hands, your opposite hand, and then bring the same elbow, and then rising up. Good, standing up. And now I'm going to turn toward the chair if you're not already. Turning to face the chair, I'm going to try to hover the foot off once or twice. Okay, so inhale, stand tall. Exhale, see if you can hover. And then come down. Good. And now you might want to hula hoop or swing and twist. You can see what feels best in your body, or you might just want to stand and notice. Following your breath in and out. Good, and again. Good, we're gonna have a seat in our chair for a moment, just for some pranayama or breath work. You could also choose to sit on the floor. Okay, so you wanna be feeling supported and in a position as best as you can with your rib cage lined up over your pelvis. And your eyes can be open or closed. I'm going to practice a little bit of same breath. So same length, inhale and exhale. I believe the Sanskrit is samavriti. I think that's right, but I'm not positive. Okay, so what I'm going to do is inhale through my nose and exhale through my nose. You could always do out through the mouth if you prefer it. Okay, I'm going to go in for a count of 4, and I'm going to go out for a count of 4. So you're going to be your own count. So let's try it maybe 4 times. Okay. Now you can stick with that, or you can come into more of the box breath. And you may have heard of this one. It's like you inhale for the same count, and then you hold for the same count. And you exhale for the same length and hold for the same length. Now, some people, when they're trying to retain the breath, it stresses them out, or any of it might stress you out. If that's the case, you can let go of those pauses altogether, or you can just pause for a shorter time. And let's just try it and see how it feels, okay? Let's try a couple of these, 2 or 3, all right? Whenever you're ready, go for it. You can let it go whenever you're ready. Notice how you feel. Notice if you liked that kind of breathing or not. You might not know from that short a bit. And then let's just inhale through your nose and blow out through the mouth like you're blowing out through a straw slowly, or a lot of birthday candles slowly out through pursed lips. You can also do this with that fogging up the mirror kind of sound in your throat, with your mouth closed or open. Moving toward that ujjayi breathing or victory breath. Lengthening the exhale is helpful for calming the nervous system. So that's what we're trying to practice, is just get that exhale longer. Another way to do it is with the bee's breath or the Brahmari breath, which is the hum on the exhale. So I'm just trying to show you some different ways, because different breath works for different people. So I'm going to do the humming now. It doesn't come across on Zoom very well. It kind of comes in and out, but I'm just holding a hum for as long as feels okay to me, and then I'm going to inhale after it. I'm just going to do it 3 times, okay? You can join me if you want, or you can do any of the other breath. You can take a sigh. And noticing how you feel. All right. So you can come into any resting pose, or if there's more movement that your body wants, you can do that too. I'm going to be getting onto the floor on my back and coming into Shavasana. You could always stay in your chair. You could come into child's pose first if you wanted. Any other pose, okay? I'm going to come into child's pose for a moment. It just feels good on my low back when I do this. If there's any other, stretches or movements, especially if you're doing this on a recording, but certainly if you're here live too, you can do whatever feels right in your body right now, Maybe there's something else that your body wanted to do. So feel free to do that. And the practice in yoga of resting at the end can be a practice of letting go and of letting go of as much effort, like really trying to release to gravity here. Noticing how your mind feels and how your body feels. Your energy level is. Noticing your breath come in and out without controlling it, just feeling it rise and fall. If it feels good to you, you could even place a hand on your body or both hands on your body, belly or chest, or might be your forehead. You might try telling yourself that's something that you need to hear, something encouraging that you need to hear.